Everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing Worst of Beauty 2018. Now every year I do a Best of Beauty and it's one of my favorite videos not only to watch but also to film. It's just so much fun to look back at everything that you've discovered that year and see what was your favorites. But this year I thought it would also be helpful to do a Worst of Beauty. Now these are also really fun for me to watch, but they're not the most fun to film because you hate being like Debbie Downer throughout an entire video, especially about products that you know are some people's absolute favorites. So please don't hate me if one of your absolute favorites made it onto my worst list. Everything works so differently for everybody, and that's the beauty of makeup. There is something out there for everybody and it's not all the same for every person. So I do try my fair share of makeup, so there's a lot of things that just didn't work out for me or didn't wow me, but I do have 9 items here that I would consider to be the worst of everything I tried this year. So without further ado, the first one is the Dior Forever Undercover 24-Hour Full Coverage Foundation. Now there was a lot of foundations that didn't work for me this year. Foundations is one of my favorite things to try, but one of the reasons this one made the worst list is because Dior is one of my favorite makeup lines and their foundations have always been really good for me, but this one just made me look old. It's definitely full coverage, but after it settles, it just brings out every single fine line on my face and makes me look 10 years older than I actually am. Actually, it makes me look more than 10 years older than I actually am because most 40-year-olds I know right now look absolutely amazing. So this makes me look way older and just emphasizes every wrinkle, every line, and just looks really heavy and cakey even though it feels very light. So this was a big disappointment for me because typically I love Dior foundations and this one was awful on my skin. Now that one I still have. I never got around to sending it back, but a lot of these products I either sent back and got my money back or I actually trashed them. So the next thing I actually used half of it and then trashed it, and this is going to be one of those that is everybody's favorite except mine. But I had to mention it so you get a different take on this product. That is the Laneige Lip Sleeping Mask. Now everybody loves this product. Everybody loves to put this on at night for their lip balm. I, however, had a very different experience with the lip sleeping mask. It actually made my lips more dry. It made them peel. Every time I used it, the next day my lips looked awful under lipstick. But whenever I would go back to my favorite, which is the Clinique Pep Start Night Restoring Mask, my lips would be soft and smooth the next morning and very hydrated. That is the one I use nightly. But the Laneige I tried because I got a deluxe sample, and every time I did, my lips would just peel. They were never hydrated, and so that was just my experience with it. I know a ton of people love it, but I thought it might be helpful to hear somebody who did not have the same experience as everybody else with that one. Now this product I think everybody is in the same boat on. That is the Marc Jacobs Shameless Youthful Look 24-Hour Foundation. 24 hours, they should write 30 minutes on this bad boy because it wears off so quickly. It looks pretty decent when you first apply it. However, there were many times that I applied it and it was patchy. You just could not get it to stick to some parts of your skin, and I was using the exact same skincare. I was doing nothing different that it shouldn't have stuck to my skin when every other foundation does. I'm pretty sad about this one too because the shade R150 was absolutely perfect for me, and then I also love the packaging. It was sleek. It was skinny, it was easy to travel with, easy to store. I like the little squeezy tube, and it was actually over 1 fluid ounce even though it's so small and so compact. So that was a real bummer, but I think most of the reviews I ever saw on this were all in the same camp in that it was a big disappointment. Now this next one I included on the worst list, but I really do have a love-hate relationship with it. It's the Becca Hydra Mist Powder. I absolutely love this and recommended this to y'all so many times. It looked so beautiful on my skin. I know that some people did not have that same effect, but it looked so smoothing on my skin and not heavy at all. It really just blurred every pore. However, the reason it's making the worst list for this year is because while I love this for a while, it did dry up. It no longer had that cooling effect. It no longer looked the same. It definitely has a short expiration date. It does say 6 months on the back, but I think it's less than 6 months. And I only got maybe halfway through it. There's a lot of product left in here and it just doesn't work the same. While I love it, I would never repurchase it and waste my money on it again. It's just so wasteful to me to have so much product left in here that doesn't perform the same as it did the day I bought it. So I loved it at first, and now I hate it because I'm just really disappointed that it doesn't have a very long shelf life, and there's no way I could get through one of these within, say, 3 months or so. Now this year I was on the hunt for a new cleansing oil. I have tried a ton of different brands. I've used a cleansing oil for so many years that I've tried a ton of different brands and love so many of them on the market, and the Clinique one was actually one of the first ones to ever leave a film on my skin. It just did not rinse cleanly for me, and although I do the double cleansing method and I do use a foaming cleanser after my cleansing oil, I do not want to risk a film being left on my skin, it clogging my pores, anything adding to the breakouts that I already have. I do struggle with acne and I don't need any help in that department, so that cleansing oil definitely went back. Just could not handle one that did not rinse cleanly, and so I found one that I did love that I am including in the Best of Beauty. And that happened with a lot of these worst products. I do have an alternative in the Best of Beauty, so be sure and don't miss that video coming up really soon. Okay, if I had to pick the worst of the worst of the worst of 2018, it would be this product. It would have to be the Murad Outsmart Acne Treatment. That stuff was so bad for my skin. It really made me break out in cystic acne, big, inflamed, under the skin that don't come to a head. And I thought it was a lot of purging at first, but it just kept on. And as soon as I went back to my old skincare routine, it cleared up. So that stuff was awful for me. Of course, that may be a miracle product for some of you struggling with acne, but for me, that was one of the worst things I have ever put on my skin, so it went back as well. Another really big letdown that I had high hopes for was the Dior Backstage eyeshadow palette. I bought the Cool palette, and I spent a lot of money on that palette. It is Dior, and the colors were beautiful, but the formula was what really let me down. It was slightly chalky. It was pressed very hard in the pan. It was hard to get any on your brush. It just didn't have a lot of color payoff. I'm all for a sheer natural look on the eyes, but this one was just, for the money, you just barely got any payoff, and it just certainly didn't feel like it was worth a $50 price tag. Not to mention, I found one that I love so much more for such a cheaper price point. Normally, I would just be let down by that product, but it made the worst list because it was so expensive. It was a high-end brand that should have performed well, and it didn't. Just didn't live up to the name or the price point, so it's making the worst list for this year. Now this product I hope would be a hidden gem that just missed the mark completely. It was the Revlon Lookbook eyeshadow palettes. These looked so pretty, the colors were beautiful, and I was just hoping this was like an eyeshadow from the drugstore that would be easily accessible in the most beautiful colors and perform great. But for me, the formula just wasn't on point. It did not perform well at all. But the biggest reason it's on the worst list is because the colors were so skinny and close together, I could not get my brush into them without getting shades from above and below it. It was so hard to work with that I was like, no. I just thought the formula wasn't good, and I can't even work in the palette very well. They definitely went back. And the last product I have for the worst of 2018 is not a new product, but it's one that I tried for the very first time in 2018. It's another cult favorite that I did not like, and that was the Tarte Shape Tape. It just seemed so dry and heavy on my under eyes. It did have pretty good coverage, but it did not look very good. I also found another alternative for the Tarte Shape Tape that I love. It's cheaper, it looks beautiful under the eyes, and when I was cleaning out my drawer because I needed some more room, I actually trashed the Tarte Shape Tape. That's how much I didn't like it. I wasn't reaching for it at all. There was several other concealers that I would have reached for over that one, so I ended up getting decluttered. I know there's a lot of people that don't like Shape Tape, but it's the most favorite of so many people. It made my worst list though when I tried it this year. So that is my personal worst of 2018. The next video will be the best of beauty 2018. For the best of beauty 2018, I will be including everything from makeup to hair to skincare to even a couple of lifestyle favorites. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to also catch the best of beauty, be sure and subscribe down below. I would love to have you. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all have a great week, and I'll see y'all in my next one. Bye.